Hello. My name is Lucy. I am here today because I want to give the Lord Jesus Christ all the glory and all the honor for everything that He has done in my life and everything that He will continue to do in my life. The Lord Jesus Christ has been so great to me, and I want to give Him all the glory and all the honor by giving my testimony of all the wonderful things and miracles He has done in my life. And I will start off by just saying that it's the first time I do a video like this, so bear with me because I am extremely nervous, very nervous. So I just want to bless everyone with this testimony of mine, and I like to tell the people that will be watching this video that do not know the Lord yet. I just want to tell you, don't give up, surrender to the Lord. He's waiting with open arms. He loves you. He loves you so much. He's waiting. He's knocking at the door. Let Him in, because you will see how wonderful He is. If you let Him in, the Lord loves you and He understands you. So you will have hope in your life. You will not regret it. Please surrender to the Lord. Open your heart. And I promise you that your life is never going to be the same. Never. So I ask that everybody that will be watching this video, that you will be blessed tremendously with my testimony, and that you take it to heart. Take it to heart and understand that this video I'm doing is never for me, never so I can get an applause, anything like that. It's all for the glory of God. It's to let everybody know that we have a God that loves us, that He's waiting for us, that when we think that He is not there for us, that He's not listening, He is there. He has a plan for us. There is a purpose for your life, my life, and that is to have the Lord in our hearts and to worship Him. And the Lord takes care of us every single day. So, so I'm going to start off by just telling you a little bit about how I grew up. We actually grew up being Catholics, and this is nothing to bash on people that are Catholics at all. I'm just telling you my story, how it happened, how I grew up. My mom and my grandmother and we grew up Catholics. We would go to church, but we would say Catholics, but we really never really went to church. I remember growing up and seeing my mom still she used to swear a lot. So, going to church, coming out and being the same. That's all I can remember, honestly, because I really didn't go to church too much, but we would say we were Catholic. The years went by, and my mom actually was the first one to get baptized into a Christian church. I remember she told me that the Lord had given her, I don't know if it was, I can't remember that well, if it was a dream or a vision or what it was, but the Lord spoke to my mom, and my mom started going to a Christian church. And when she went to the church and she saw the church and she was in there, she could feel the Holy Spirit there. And she remembers that the Lord was telling her, this is the place. You have found the place. And ever since then, my mom got baptized and, she became Christian. I remember, though, really quick here, that when she told us about it, she told my siblings and I remember us being so upset. I was like, my mom, Mom, you're what? You're Christian? Oh my gosh, you're going to be so boring. And we were actually pretty upset, thinking, oh my gosh, my mom is going to be a boring mom. She's not going to be fun anymore. She's joined this Christian church. So, but I would see the change in her. She was so different. She seemed extremely happy, which was, I think, what was kind of disappointing to me, because I was like, she's happy. What is she doing? What is she join? I'm not going to lie, I was a little scared for my mom, but there was something still that was there that I would get curious about. I was like, man, my mom seems extremely happy. And she started talking to us about the Lord Jesus Christ. And my mom started changing a lot. This is the first time she actually stopped saying bad words. I didn't see her like drink or anything like that. She actually even started dressing like so different. And I remember that she invited us to church, and I went a few times with my mom back and forth. But I remember when I went the first time, I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is crazy. Everybody worshiping. And I was like, what kind of church is this? Because I've never been in a Christian church. But deep inside, I knew there was something like there was just something there that I felt that was like, wow, I like this. I actually like it. But I was a little scared because I've never been to a Christian church, and the worship and people like, worshiping, dancing for the Lord, and all that was like new to me. But actually I started liking it, and I started going. And when they had the slow worship music, like, oh, it just really hit my heart. Like, it was like so uplifting. And I just started enjoying church, but I wouldn't go all the time. So, after that, my mom continued to go, and she actually, till today, she's still Christian. Thanks to the Lord. And but yeah, so I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. When I think when I was gonna turn a day to 17, I got married to my ex-husband. I was very young, very, very young. I thought I knew what I wanted. I was a day to 17, and my ex-husband, I believe he was 21, 20 or 21. And yeah, so I started seeing a lot of things in my ex-husband. I had no idea that he was on drugs. I had no idea how bad it was. And as our marriage, as the years went by in our marriage, my ex-husband started becoming like more like not physical, but mentally abusive. Like with certain things, he started getting like really jealous, really. He was never like that, but he wouldn't let me go visit my family. He started just changing so much, so much. And as the years went by, I believe it was like 2 years later. I was 19 when I found out I was pregnant from my first baby. And I didn't find out I was pregnant until like I was probably a little over 3 months. And the reason was because throughout the first 2 years, we were never using protection. So I just wouldn't come out pregnant. And I just thought like maybe I can't have babies. I can't have kids. So I didn't think I was going to come out pregnant. So I just stopped like, just thinking about it. And I just thought I wasn't going to come out pregnant. So when I found out, it was because I was having some symptoms. And I decided to go to the clinic, and I got checked. And of course, they told me that I was pregnant and that I was probably a little over 3 months. And I was like in total shock. I was excited. I obviously went to talk to my ex-husband and talked to him and said, hey, we're going to have a baby. I normally like would go to all my appointments and checkups by myself. I honestly don't recall not even one appointment that he went with me. He was either working, or he was not those kind of husbands. He never took the time to say, hey, well, let me go with you, or why don't you change your appointment for this day so I can be there. So he was never really involved. So throughout my whole pregnancy, like I did everything by myself. And my mom was always there for me. My mom, I want to thank the Lord, first of all, for giving me a wonderful mom. My mom was so great to me. My mom was always there for me when my ex-husband wasn't there. She was always there. My sisters have always been there. My family has always been there for me. So I am very blessed in that way. Yeah, so when that's when they told me, and then they made me another appointment so I can go, and when I have to go get my ultrasound and everything. But they wanted first to do my first checkup before an ultrasound. So I went to my first appointment, and they told me that I remember the nurse coming in, and she was trying to find the baby's heartbeat, and they couldn't find the heartbeat. So To make a long story short, like all these doctors came in, they checked it, and everybody said the same thing. They came in, they gave me the bad news, and they told me, hey, I'm sorry, your baby has no heartbeat, your baby has passed away. So that was really, really hard for me because I just found out that I was pregnant, and I was already like over 3 months. And then for them to say like, hey, there's no heartbeat, I just felt like my world just like collapsed. Like I just felt like I was like just devastated. And then obviously I was going to church back and forth, and I was thinking like, no, 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 that's not gonna happen. They're wrong. They just didn't hear it. Okay. I got God with me. I'm going to church because I thought like going to church was just like everything was gonna be fine because I went to church, that God was gonna like protect me 100% from everything. And it was like so hard because I already had like baby clothes and baby outfits. And I was in total denial. I said, nope, nope, nope. God is gonna take care of me. My mom called like on my pastor at the time, and like all the like people from church, they were praying for me, and I thought, okay, this is all I need, prayers, and it's gonna be fine. But no. Anyways, I was not feeling sick at all. I remember my aunt, she passed away already, but I remember she told me like, hey, you need to go to the doctor. You need to take care of this. Because if you don't go, because the clinic was calling me that asking me to get induced. They kept on calling me like, hey, you need to come in. We need to induce you. You're a little far along. So you're gonna have to go through a delivery. We're gonna have to induce you. And if you don't come, you run a bad, huge chance like of getting an infection, getting fever. It's very dangerous to have a baby that has passed away. And they're like, you need to come in, we need to induce you. And I was in total denial, like I said, and I was like refusing. I said, no, I'm not gonna go. And I wouldn't even pick up their phone calls. And they said, and if you miscarriage on your own, like you're gonna be so scared, you're gonna be in a lot of pain, and it could be dangerous. And no, I refused. I told my mom, nope, I am not going to believe it. I'm going to church. God is with me. Not to say God wasn't with me. Of course, he was with me, but sometimes God just has other plans. And I remember we went to I want to say we went to like 3 or 4 more different clinics, but I never told them what my doctor had said because I wanted to see what they had to say, always hoping that I would get a different answer. So I went to a few places, and my mom, bless her heart, she drove me to all these places and was taking me all the time. And every time I went, it was like a disappointment. There was disappointment after disappointment after disappointment because every single new doctor that I would go to, or clinic, hospital, wherever they would send me, they would say, I'm sorry, like your baby doesn't have a heartbeat, your baby has passed away, blah, blah, blah. And then I was starting to like lose faith, and I was like, well, what am I going to church for? I mean, God, you have to like take care of me. My baby needs to be alive. And I was still in denial. So I went to one last visit, and I asked my mom. We lived in San Diego at the time, San Diego, California. And I asked my mom, I said, you know what, Mom, why won't you take me? Let's go to Tijuana, Mexico, across the border. Maybe a doctor over there will tell me something different. And it was just because I just wanted to hear a different answer. I wanted somebody to give me more hope and say, hey, I could hear a heartbeat, but I can't hear it very well, but it's there. And I was always hoping like that a miracle would happen, that when I went to the next doctor, like they would tell me, hey, your baby is alive. And unfortunately, this doctor in Mexico, like they even did an ultrasound, and my baby had like the little hand like up, something like this. And harsh, very harsh. But I remember the doctor saying, oh, look, and the baby's even saying goodbye to you. I was like, oh man, this is so hard. So that's when like my heart just like was so broken. I was like starting to lose faith. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, that's it. I'm going to like call my doctor's office. I'm going to schedule the appointment to get induced, because if I have a baby that's been dead here, and like all this time, like honestly, I think I didn't call my doctor till I was almost like 5 months. So I was like in denial for like almost 2 months, a month and a half or so. Um, and I never felt sick. I never felt feverish. Like I never, nothing, nothing, nothing. And like I said, I refused to go. And then until I gave up and I said, well, I'm going to go. Um, so yeah, they scheduled me at this like special hospital where they do all this, like babies, kind of like the big main children's hospital, something similar. Sorry, I got this hair that keeps on going in my eye. And scheduled the appointment. And then a day before the appointment, when I was gonna get induced, I locked myself in my room. Like I said, my ex-husband was never there. So I was by myself again. And I remember being in my bedroom at the time. And I remember sitting at the corner of the room, like way in the corner. And since I did have, I don't know if it was a lot of the fluid or what it was, but I looked pregnant. I was wearing maternity clothes. So I remember like going in the corner of the room, grabbing the baby clothes and just like throwing it. And then my mind started playing games with me, or, I would say it was probably the enemy that was like driving me crazy. And I remember just going in the corner. I mean, this happened in 1996, but I remember it clear like it was yesterday. So it's still a little hard for me. I mean, I'm doing okay with it, but it's still very hard talking about it because I went through this and it was like really, really hard for me losing my baby. But I remember sitting in the corner of the bedroom, like right in the corner. And I remember like I was feeling like people were coming like towards me to take my baby. And I remember I was holding my belly and I was just screaming. I was like looking at people. I didn't see people, like now that I'm thinking about it, but I was talking to somebody. I don't know who, but I kept on saying like, leave me alone, leave me alone. You're not taking my baby. You're not taking I just kept on saying over and over, like, you're not taking my baby. You're not taking my baby. This baby's mine. And I remember I was like feeling like I was really going crazy. Like it was like really scary things. I don't even know if I've even told my family about this, or like a lot of people don't know about it. But I remember like not seeing anybody, but I was literally talking to somebody, to more than one person. And I just kept on grabbing and holding my belly and saying, don't take my baby. Don't take my baby. You're not going to take my baby. And I was just going crazy. And I remember like I have a twin sister, and I'm very close to my twin sister too. And I remember she went to check up on me and was knocking on the door because she wanted to see how I was doing, since my appointment was going to be the next day. And I refused to open the door. I didn't want to open the door. At the time, I lived with my ex-mother-in-law. And I think everybody was telling her that I wasn't opening the door because I didn't want to open the door for anybody. I was just like going crazy in my room. And I remember my sister kept on saying, twin, open the door, please open the door. And I finally opened the door. And I remember that I was just like crying a lot because it was so hard, because I knew that tomorrow was the day that I was going to, get induced. And I was no longer going to have my baby that I was like waiting for 2 years, that I wanted to hold. And then I remember after that, obviously, I went to the hospital, my mom. And at the time, my mom took me, but my ex-husband actually went with me. And he actually spent the night. That was like so amazing, because I would never thought he would do something like that. And he actually spent the night there with me. One night. I was in the hospital for about 2 days because I wouldn't deliver. It was like many, many hours of like pain and everything. But my mom was there with me. And then, then my ex-husband took off. He left wherever he went. I don't remember right now. I can't say if it was work or what it was. But I was there, and my mom was there with me. And I remember that they were drugging me, and I was in so much pain. It was so, so painful. And they kept on giving me drugs and drugs and drugs. Well, to find out later, my mom told me after I got out of the hospital that they gave me so much drugs that my heart stopped. And she said that all the doctors kicked her out and they all ran inside and they were working on me. And then after a while, she says they came out like so scared. You could see their faces really scared because they almost lost me. And I didn't know this until she told me. So going back to when I started the video, when I was sitting on just a few weeks ago, when the Lord was like talking to my heart about doing a testimony so people can know all the wonderful things that God does, with every one of us, I was just thanking the Lord. But I was thanking him just from a year here, and I'll tell you later why. But I wasn't really thanking him like for my past life or anything, because I was thinking, well, since I really didn't know God then, I was in my mind thinking, he wasn't there. So he was with me when I really surrendered to him. But the Lord reminded me the other day, or a couple weeks ago, he reminded me that hey, I have done more. Like I had a plan for you all along. Like I have been with you all through your entire trials. Like I have been there for you. I've never left you. He never left me. And I started thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're right, Lord. All the stuff I went through in my life, all my trials and tribulations I went through, you were always there for me. I just never saw it. And it really didn't dawn on me until like a few weeks ago, when I was like being grateful for the things that he was doing in my life. But I never really I don't know what I was thinking. I never put everything together, but he reminded me that he has been with me through all my whole life. And I remember I used to say, I don't have no purpose in life. There is no purpose in my life. What is my purpose in life? And that I would always question that all the time, but the Lord knew I had a purpose in life. He was just waiting for me to surrender to him. So anyways, I lost my, I started the contractions afterwards. My mom was with me, like I said, and I had my baby, and there was still some hope there for me, that I was thinking, okay, Lord, you're going to shut everybody's mouth, everybody that doubted, everybody that didn't think that you could do a miracle, including myself. Like, you're going to make it happen. When my baby's born in a while, like my baby will have a heartbeat where people would be amazed. I mean, you hear of all these miracles, like why not me? Yeah, so I delivered the baby. My baby was only 5 ounces in weight, 5 ounces, probably. I don't have it with me right now, but maybe a little smaller, maybe here than my glasses, my case. Very small, 5 ounces. But my baby had everything. My baby had her little lashes. She had her little nose, her beautiful tiny little lips. My baby had her little eyebrows, her little fingernails, her fingers, her little feet, belly button. I mean, my baby had everything. The only thing she had different is that she had like a little, like kind of like a growth in the back, or liquid in the back of her head, which was the reason why she didn't survive. And the Lord knows why. Even though I was still going to love my baby no matter what, and the Lord knows that, I would have accepted my baby anyway, but the Lord decided to, take her. I didn't know the sex of the baby until later when they took the baby. And they did they studied the baby. They did some stuff with it, with my baby. So this way they make sure that it doesn't happen again. So they wanted to give me all the information, and this way, since I was very young, to see why this happened. And it ended up that my little baby girl had Turner syndrome, and that's why she didn't survive. Something to do with chromosomes and all that. But yeah, but I got to take pictures with my baby. I got to hold my baby, and it was so hard, like saying goodbye, because when I went home, just coming with my baby and me, and then coming home with empty, like with nothing, was just so hard for me. So I ended up going into a very, very deep depression at the time. And then especially because my marriage wasn't good, it was I wasn't happy. I was not happy at all, but I was too embarrassed to tell my mom that my marriage was a fail, and I didn't want to come home because that means I failed my marriage. So I just stuck by it, and I ended up getting very depressed. My ex-husband, and I don't want to come here and just bash on him, but this is what really happened. So it's part of my testimony, so I have to say it. I'm not gonna say his name, but I'm not here like to just, I want to bash on him. It's because it did happen, and it's part of my testimony. So he was out there with other women, and he was cheating constantly, and it was just really, really bad. So I got into just very deep depression. I just didn't want to live anymore. I remember one day I took a bottle of pills. I don't recall what pills they were, but I found them somewhere in their house. I used to live with my ex-mother-in-law, like I said, so I found the pills, and I just took a whole bunch of pills. I remember locking myself in the bathroom. Of course, my ex-husband wasn't home again. And I was sitting on the bathroom floor. I locked myself. I was 19 then, and I started writing a letter to my mom, to my sisters, my family, just saying I'm sorry. I was saying sorry to the Lord because I knew that taking your life was a sin, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just wanted to end my life. So I took a lot of pills, and in that letter, I was just apologizing to my mom because I knew my mom was going to be miserable. I knew my sisters were going to be miserable, but that's all I could do at the time. I was just like, didn't want to live. It was just, I didn't have my baby. My marriage was a fail. So there's no purpose for me to want to live. So I sat there and I waited and I cried a lot because I knew what was going to happen when they found me. And I just cried and cried and cried a lot, and I just wasn't happy. And I waited and I waited and I waited like so many hours, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Lord's plan. Nothing happened. Same thing when I lost my baby in the hospital and my heart stopped. The Lord had me. This time the Lord was saying like, no, you don't realize I have a plan for you, which I didn't know, but I was trying to end my life. And he didn't allow it because he had a plan for me. And I continued to stay in my marriage. I was married for about 6 years, but I continued to stay with my ex-husband because I didn't want to come home to my mom and tell her that I failed. And he continued getting worse and worse on drugs. Like the drugs were really, really bad. It was destroying him. He was hallucinating. He was seeing things that weren't there. And one day he wouldn't come home, and I was just like, obviously I loved him to death at that time, obviously. And I was so worried for him, and I would ask God, where is he? Where is he? I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. And his mom had another house in Tijuana, Mexico, but it was a little further out. And I told my twin sister was there because my twin sister married his brother. So we both got married the same day with brothers. They're not twins, but they're brothers. So I told my twin sister, hey, I'm going to go look for him. He's not home. I'm getting worried. And I remember it was a very, very bad rainy day. It was raining so much. I was just soaking wet because we decided to walk. And then I believe we took the taxi just from one place to the other. But most of the time we walked, and it was pretty far. I think it took us probably like an hour or more to get there. And I found him. And I'm just going to I was going to say the story about everything that happened, but I'm just going to say something really quick, and then I'm going to move along. When I got there was a girl outside, and the first thing she told me is that she called out my ex-husband's name, and she said he was just with the girl, he cheated, and he was so drugged up that he had slept with somebody else right before I got there. And that somebody else was also the girl that was telling me, which was crazy. But to make a long story short, we left. He decided to drive his car. Oh, he was super drugged up, but he didn't allow anybody to drive his car. We got back home to his mom's, and I was going to go, and his mom had like metal doors, and they had metal bars in every single room. Like my ex-husband and I, like she built like a little tiny living room slash kitchen and a bedroom, and we didn't have a bathroom in there yet. The bathrooms were outside, the porta potties, or those underground ones. But they were still working with the toilets, like trying to get all that situated. The pipes were there, but we didn't have a bathroom. So every time I had to go to the bathroom, even in the middle of the night, I had to go outside. So she did that for all her sons. So when they came to visit her, since everybody was married, everybody had a room to go to. But my ex-husband at the time decided to take me to live there because he had lost his job, or he decided to leave his job and so he took me to live to Mexico. And that's when things got really, really bad. So like I said, we came back, and I was going to go tell his mom that we were back so she didn't worry, and that we had found him. And at this point, I had no idea where he went because he was so drugged up that he had no idea what was going on. And when I opened the door, thankfully, I opened the door with my right hand, and I pulled the little knob, and I started like getting electrocuted. And I just, like, it was so horrible. I got electrocuted, and I could not detach from the door. It was just getting worse and worse. I just felt like my whole body was filling up with so much electricity that my body was going to explode. I just couldn't. And I remember my sister yelling and screaming, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I couldn't talk. I couldn't tell her what was wrong with me. And nobody knew because it was so dark in that hallway where nobody knew what was going on. And you could only see a little bit. And then finally, it seemed like forever. I just thought, like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm just going to die here because I got electrocuted so bad. And somebody on the other side of the door, which it was my ex-mother-in-law, she, I guess she turned the switch or did something with the breaker box. And, or no, I'm sorry, she unplugged the extension cord. Apparently, she passed an extension cord through the top of the door. Yes, I know I wasn't smart. Over the metal door. And as you open and shut the door, of course, it's going to start peeling it. And you're going to have the wire that's going to be touching the metal. And that's electricity. And apparently, it had happened to her partner, like, a little bit before me. Why they still put the cord over there, I have no idea. They did it again, and it happened again. But by the grace of God, she unplugged it from the inside. And as she unplugged it, that so much power of electricity threw me like so many feet out to the hallway, way, way back there. And then she turned on the light, so my sister was able to see me like fly all the way over there. And they brought alcohol and I don't know what else to help me. And I remember being on the floor all soaking wet from all the rain. And then I was just like had on here. I had like little veins going up like this, all the way up here red from the electricity that was going inside my body. And again, the Lord had a different plan for me. It was not my time. It wasn't my time. So once again, he took care of me and I made it through. It was a really horrible night because my ex-husband didn't even know. He was laying next to me. He had no idea what I went through because he was so drugged up until the next morning. As the years continued, I ended up coming up pregnant again. Thank God I had a beautiful, healthy son. And then I also had a daughter. And I was thinking, well, if my ex-husband always wanted a little girl, maybe if we have a little girl, he's going to be so different. At that time, the mental abuse continued, but now there was physical abuse. So he started being very abusive with me, throughout the last few years. once he took me to Mexico. And it was so hard because I didn't have anybody to defend me, and I couldn't even tell like my family until I found like the courage to tell my sisters. But I told them that they couldn't say anything to our mom. So I was just miserable, miserable, miserable. I would cry every day. I wouldn't eat. I had my kids there, and I wouldn't go anywhere. And it got really bad to the point where my ex-husband started locking me and my kids and I in that room. And I couldn't get out because there was bars in the windows. So I just couldn't get out. I couldn't. And one day I wanted to go potty outside, obviously. And I was like trying to open the door. I thought it was like stuck. And and I kept on like banging on the door. And then my ex-mother-in-law was like, her room was like next to ours. And she came to the door and she's like, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey, I need to go potty. Like, can you open the door? I think it's stuck. And she's like, no, actually, it's not stuck. You have a big lock outside of the door. I said, what do you mean I have a lock? She said, yeah, my son locked you in there. And I heard that he's not going to come back for another 2-3 days because they're going to go party somewhere. I don't know where. He was going to leave for a whole weekend. And I said, but I got to use the bathroom. Like, I need somebody to open the door for me. I need to get out. And she's like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to open it, because they were so afraid. The family was so afraid of him because he owned guns and he was very violent. So they were afraid of him. So she's like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to open the door. So my ex-mother-in-law didn't want to help me because she was scared. And for me, I just felt like I had no support of anybody. And, I don't want to like talk bad about her either, but her and I didn't really get along too well. Like, she didn't like me. And she was never really kind to me. So I just felt really bad because nobody was willing to help me and like break that lock so I can get out. I needed to use the bathroom. So at the time I was like potty training my son. He was like 3 years old, and I was potty training him. And I had to use his tiny little porta potty, and I had to go in a bag. I mean, I had no choice because I couldn't get out to the bathroom for those 2-3 days. And it was just like, I was just miserable. And then when he would come back, he would tell me like, you got out. Yes, you did. I said, no, I've been here locked in. Why did you lock me? And he was so bad into drugs that he was hallucinating a lot. And he kept on saying like, yeah, you got out. I know for a fact that you got out. And he started being abusive. He started like hitting me. So it just got really, really bad where, he tried choking me one day. He was just like, had me by the neck, and my son was there, and he was watching everything, and he was just pressing on my neck. Like, I literally couldn't barely talk, where I was just barely was able to tell him like, take the baby out, kill me, but take him out. I don't want him to watch me die. And he just didn't care. Like, my son, he was so little. And I remember that he was just like sitting on his little toddler bed. And he's just watching me like, just like this, like watching me. I could see his little shadow at nighttime. And he just, when his dad was done, like being abusive, like he'd get out of the room, and my son would say, Mommy, he hit you again. And I would just say, no, baby, no, you were dreaming. No, I wasn't dreaming. So I just was trying to like protect him in a way. And I know a lot of people would say, well, the way you would protect your kid is by leaving. But you guys have to understand that he had me threatened. He said, you cannot leave. And if you leave, you can't take the kids. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to go. I'm not leaving my kids here. So, it's so hard when you're in those shoes because you're scared, you're being threatened that you're gonna get killed, and then rethinking like the plan of leaving and him finding you out there. I was like, he's gonna kill me. So it was so hard for me. So anyways, the abuse, mental and physical abuse, continued. It was really, really bad. And my only hope at that time was the word of God. I had a Bible that I had purchased. And I also had like a little angel that had like prayers that I would stick in their prayers. They had a little angel on the top, and I had a lot of like little knickknacks that my mom had given me that had prayer stuff. But my Bible was like my only hope. And I remember like I didn't know how to read the Bible. I had no idea how to read it. I would just like grab the Bible and I just say, Lord, talk to me, and I just open it. Like literally I would just open it. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I had to ask the Lord to help me. And and this is how great the Lord is. The Lord is so good that even though I didn't know how to read the Bible and how to read his word, he gave me word. He gave me this, and he gave me this word not one time. He gave me this word like 4 or 5 times throughout the time I was there. And I never remember the page. I never remember the Bible verse. But every time I would open it, he would give me the same Bible verse. And the Bible verse is John 16:20. It says, very truly, I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. And I was literally holding on to those words. Your grief will turn to joy. Your grief will turn to joy. And I got to the point where I questioned the Lord, and I said, Lord, when you keep on saying that it's going to be turned to joy, I don't see it. I don't see it. When he's going to kill me one of these days, and my kids are going to suffer. I need to know when. You keep on saying it, but I just don't know when. And then he would give me the same word over and over and over. And I was losing faith. I was just really bad. And one day, like, so as the years went by, like my love for him was not there anymore. I just started like feeling so angry. I started feeling anger towards him. I started hating him. To the point, which this is going to sound so bad, but I would pray to the Lord. I'd say, please, may he get in a car accident. May he die on the way here. I don't want him, because every time he came to the door, I'd be so scared. I'm like, he's going to hit me again. He's going to hit me. He's going to be abusive. I'm like, I was so tired of it. And it was mainly also because my kids were growing up seeing their dad being abusive with me. My son would go and even if we had a regular conversation, but my son thought that because he would raise his voice, his dad, he'd leave his little toy cars and he'd run inside and he'd push his dad and he'd kick him and he'd say, leave my mommy alone, don't hit her. And his dad would like push him. He'd push him and say, get out of here, don't be disrespectful. And I told him, like, you have to understand, when he sees you hitting me, that's the first thing he's gonna think if you're raising your voice, even if you're not fighting with me at the time. And he would just say, no, he shouldn't be doing that. And he just didn't care. He didn't care. And then after that, it just started getting really, really, really bad. And like I said, I started like have this hate started growing inside of me. Like I just hated him. I hated him. I wished him death, that he would not come home, that he'd die on the way. That's how bad it was. That's how bad, because I just didn't want to be living the life I was living. I was being locked up in a room where I couldn't even get out because the bars had a lock. Everything had a lock, the door and everything, and nobody in the family was willing to help me. So after that, he came home one day, and I remember he was very violent right away. Like, again, the same story, like, you got out. And I said no. And since he noticed that I didn't care anymore, like how he talked to me, because I didn't love him anymore. So I had so much hate that I just didn't care. So if he says something to me, I'd say it back. And I started thinking in my head, well, the way he is with me, I'm going to be the same way with him. If he talks to me a certain way, well, I'm going to talk the same way. And I don't care. If he hits me again, I just don't care. And so he would say something to me, and then he was getting really angry because I was doing that. And so he tried to get me back because he didn't like the way my behavior was. So he went and grabbed my little angel that I had that was like, had a little prayer request. And he says, oh yeah, so you don't care? Watch what I'm going to do with your angel. And he broke it. And then I thought, okay, I'm not going to get mad. I'm like, okay, I'll just get another one. I told him I'll get another one. And then he went and grabbed all my personal stuff, like stuff that I had, decorations, like that I valued. And he started breaking them. Watch what I do with this. Watch what I do with this. And I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care. I'll get another one. But once he got my Bible, now that's where I was going crazy. He grabbed my Bible. He grabbed my Bible like this, and he's like, oh, you don't care? Watch this. And when he grabbed it like this and he opened it, he went like this, like he was going to rip the pages. And he looked at me, he goes, watch it. He was laughing. And I said, please, no, not my Bible, not my Bible. Please, I'll do anything you want, but not my Bible, not my Bible. Please, please. And I said, you're going to condemn yourself. Like, you're going to go to hell. Like, don't do stuff like this. This is not good. And he's like, I don't care. I really don't care. Ha, ha, ha. And he looked at me with like evil eyes, and he just laughed, and he opened the Bible and he started going, watch what I do with your Bible. He started ripping page after page after page, and he'd throw it. And he's like, oh, let me see now. You don't care? And I just like bawling, because I'm like, how could he? Like, this is my only hope I had, the word of God, even though I didn't know how to read it, even though I didn't know how to like understand it. Like, this is the word of God. Like, what are you doing? And he just didn't care. He really didn't care. So of course, I was really depressed. I wouldn't eat. My sisters would check up on me, bless their heart. They would come and visit me like off and on. And they come and give me money. And they say like, here, hide it for diapers, because I needed diapers for, my baby girl. I needed diapers. And here, they bring me clothes, because he wouldn't like take me shopping. We really didn't have a lot of food. His mom had a little store there, like a little grocery store. But I didn't like getting stuff unless, he would send me, like, go tell my mom that I said to give me a loaf of bread or something. But I never really had like too much food. And there's times that I didn't even have diapers, but I just couldn't. I wasn't working. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to do anything but be a housewife. So I went into like very, very, very deep depression. Because he continued with the physical and the mental abuse. He locking us up. I had to be using the bathroom all the time inside the house in a little bucket, or my son's little training porta potty, a plastic bag, whatever I would find until he would get home. Then I'd go throw it outside. And one day I was asleep, and I was pretending I was asleep, and I was watching him, and I saw where he threw his gun. He threw a gun in a basket that we had up on the ceiling, like hanging. There was a basket there of like artificial flowers, and I saw him throw it there. And I was so depressed at the time that I thought, you know what? I'm grabbing it. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab it, and I'm just going to end my life. I'm just tired of it. I just can't handle this anymore. I'm going to go crazy. So I got the gun, and I remember like climbing up there and grabbing it in. And I said, oh, good, it's there. I didn't know how to use a gun, obviously, but I knew that if I put it to my head, it was going to do what I wanted it to do. And I think at the time, I don't remember if my kids were out like right there playing outside, and I was in the other room. And something just told me like, or the enemy told me, just get the gun, shoot yourself, end it here. You'll be done with everything. You don't have to suffer anymore. So I got the gun, and I remember like doing whatever I had to do with it as much as I was able to understand it. And I put it to my head. And I remember like thinking like, I wouldn't dare to do something like this. And to be honest, I don't know if I would have dared. I mean, obviously I didn't do it, but it was just like so many like mixed emotions. And I'm thinking like, no, I'm a coward. I won't be able to do something like this. I'm too much of a coward to even pull the trigger. And I remember having it here in my head and just shaking and saying like, I could end it right here. I could just end everything, all my pain and my kids. my kids came to my mind. I'm thinking, what kind of mom am I? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? The reason I don't leave without my kids is because I don't want to leave my kids here, but yet here I am trying to end my life, and I'm gonna traumatize my kids. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I remember like just crying. I hurried up and I threw it back into the basket, and I was just crying and crying and crying. I'm saying I'm just such a coward. And then I was just having mixed emotions, like saying my kids, like how was I gonna do this to my kids? But my life was just literally hell, and I just thought I couldn't do this. But once again, the Lord had me. He had me when I lost my baby, which I didn't lose my baby. My baby girl is up in heaven. And by the way, I never named my baby until like a couple years ago. Why? I don't know. I would always call her baby girl. But I gave her a name, and her name is Hope, and so she's my little Hope now. So I named her a couple years ago. But anyways, when I lost my baby Hope, he had me. He had me there. I didn't get sick. I didn't die. When my heart stopped while being induced, he had me there. When I took pills in the bathroom, nothing happened. He had me there. When I got electrocuted, he had me there. When I put the gun to my head, I couldn't do it. He had me there. When my ex-husband was choking me to death and his mom ended up coming in, I don't know, by the grace of God, she opened the door because she heard me screaming, and it was open, but she decided to like open it more. And she yelled out his name, "Stop! You're gonna go to jail," or something like that. So she was worried that he was gonna go to prison for killing me. And my whole neck was like so red. It was bruised up because he was choking me, and he let go of me. So that I do gotta thank her, because she walked in at the perfect time. The Lord again had me there. So it was just really hard. And that day, it was around the same time. That day, or the next couple of days, I would say, like, he was getting very, very violent. He was hallucinating really, really bad. And I remember that day he hit me really hard. He hit me like on the top of my nose, where I still like touch somewhere here, and it still hurts. And then I remember he punched my jaw, where I felt like my jaw came out of place. It felt like it, but it didn't. But it would like crack every time. I couldn't eat. And his mom like heard it all and everything. And I think she thought like, okay, if I don't get her family here to come and get her, like, he's gonna kill her. He is going to kill her. I didn't say this part of the story, but I had already left them once. I left them, and I told them I wanted to go see my mom, and I had my 2 kids with me, and I think he was scared that I was going to leave him, which that was the plan. And last minute before, like, he dropped me off at the border so my mom could pick me up on the other side of the border. He's like, you could only take Gabby. You're going to have to leave, Robert, my son, with me. And then Robert started crying, my baby. He's like, "Mom, I want to go with my mommy." And he's like, "No, you're staying with me." And I said, "Why don't you let him go?" He goes, "No, because you're going to leave. And what if you don't come back?" Because he knew what he was doing. And I just lied to him. I said, "No, I will not leave. I will not leave." Blah, blah, blah. So I said, "But that's fine. If you want to keep him, keep him." But I feel bad because he's crying. So I was praying in my head, "Lord, let him go." And then as I'm getting off with my daughter from the car, like as I'm shutting the door, he goes, "Okay, go with your mom. All right, I'm going to let him go. Call me on Sunday and I'll come and get you." By then it was like a Friday. And then I was like, "Okay." And he gave me my son. And I think it's because he just wouldn't take care of the kids. So my son was going to be like a problem to him, for him to go party and everything. So he was like debating what to do. So anyways, I took my son. I went to my mom's. It was Sunday already when she was going to drop me off back home. And we got in her van. I put the kids in the car seats. I went in the van. My stepdad got in the driver's side, and my mom was already in the passenger seat, and I stood outside of the van, and my mom's like, "All right, let's go, get in." And I just looked at her, And she goes, what? I said, nothing. I said, yeah, I'll get in right now. And I was thinking, like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back home. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. But I didn't want to tell my mom. And then I was like, it's because I don't want to go. She goes, I know. I wish you could stay longer. And I said, no, I don't want to. She goes, something's wrong with you. What's going on? I said, I don't want to go back. And she's like, is something happening over there? And then I just started crying. I said, Mom, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And she got out of the van really quick. And she's like, what's wrong? What happened? And I just said, Mom, he's been hitting me. Like, he's been very abusive, like, for so long now. But he's getting worse. And he's done this. He's done that. And then she's like, you're not going to go back anymore. You're not going to go back anymore. We tried to get a restraining order. They wouldn't do it because there was no police report. Anyways, I left him for about a week. He came back looking for me and my mom, but I was at my aunt's house. To make a long story short, like, yes, I ended up going back with him because I've never seen him cry. And I never thought that he was going to like beg for me to come back. And I thought he's going to change. He changed the first week. And then after the first week, he went back to the same person again.